So right now, if you've been trading the small cap market over the past 2 weeks now, you know it's been kind of slow. And we're seeing a lot of stocks have maybe very strong morning spikes, but they don't really go anywhere. They have maybe some strength, but they just all kind of fade off and die. What I have been focusing on instead is just kind of keeping an eye on what stocks are spiking in the morning and then just setting price alerts that will let me know if the stock ever breaks out later on in the day or maybe day 2, day 3, day 4. Because I don't want to trade these on the initial spike because like I said, lots of these are fading and dying off. So I don't want to buy into that failed breakout. I want to see the ones that have that sustained strength and can break out and trap and squeeze shorts. That's what this whole setup is kind of based around. It's a big short squeeze. So here's an example on AM, right? So you can see on the 16th of February, AM had this high of day right near 365, very big spike. I didn't want to trade it here though because there was no reason to. And instead, once it pulled back, I just put a price alert for the break over 365. You can see next day just kind of trended back upwards slowly. It was still on my watch. And then eventually on day 3, it was able to break out and it ran from 365 to $5 per share. Now, I didn't buy it here either, right? I am not a breakout buyer. I like to buy previous resistance as new support. So once it had this breakout, and this is where I say this is such a simple setup to trade because you don't need to be fast with it. Once I saw this breakout happen and it ran to $5 per share, I already knew that if it pulled back down to 360s, I wanted to buy the dip. So I could send my order right there, right? I don't have to wait for it to test. And this is a system that is so great for people who are limited on time, maybe limited on resources that you don't have, 5 screens to trade on and you just have a phone. If you see it set up like this, you can plan the trade using the TradeBuddy trade planner to calculate your size and then just send your order, good till cancel. And then if you get filled, great. If not, then it was never a setup. Very, very easy, ease of access when it comes to actually trading a system. It's not fast-paced scalping. It's not, going for 10, 15 cent movers. It's just finding a basic setup, knowing your risk and taking the entry. So at this point, I planned my trade. I sent my limit buy orders into that support level. And then next day, not even in the same day, next day, it finally pulled back down. And look at that bounce. Beautiful, beautiful bounce, like perfect textbook bounce using previous resistance as new support. So I was able to get filled into that bounce level, perfect bounce. And from there, just a matter of taking a partial along the way, right? So whenever it comes to taking partial profits, my rules are always the same. I like to keep my systems very repeatable because that means I can use it for hundreds and thousands of trades without a lot of variance on how I actually take the trades. That's what makes a long-term consistency. So my rules as far as taking profits along the way is I just like to use levels of previous resistance. So if you look at the hourly chart here, there is a level of previous resistance right up into that $5 line, right near 480s. So I knew that if we could test that, I wanted to lock in some partial profits. So I left a limit seller there. Once again, you don't have to sell at the time it's doing it. You could just leave a limit sell. That's the beauty of limit sell orders. Most people who trade, they use market orders for some reason. You could just use a limit order and then just go away. And you don't have to watch the market 24/7. It's a very freeing thing to do. You don't have to succumb to liquidity and slippage because you just set your price. If the stock goes up there, you get your fill. Very, very simple. And then from there, next levels up ahead are just usually for me, once it goes over the initial breakout, I look at the daily chart. So looking at this daily chart, you can see that the next level of resistance technically is all the way up at 812. I didn't really like the potential of, missing on a move from $4 to $8. Say if it topped out at $6 and I didn't lock in any profits. So I noticed that there was this kind of mini bounce here at $6. I marked that off as a line and I sent a limit sell there as well. And so today we saw it have that continued spike through 485, ran up, broke out even higher, sold off some more profits into this $6 level. And now that I've locked in profits along the way and I've locked in my patience partials, I can now once again kind of relax because I know I've paid myself and fall back to kind of following the chart, right? So if you just go back to the basics, as long as the stock holds previous resistance as new support, it is still bullish, right? Well, if you look at this chart, previous resistance is right here near $5. So technically, it could pull back down to that level and still hold as new support. This is where so many traders get it wrong. And this is why I am making this video for you guys today. Because imagine you are swinging this trade, right? And you're swinging this stock, and you're just a bit too worried about giving up your profits, right? And you see it have this afternoon sell-off. It goes down below VWAP, and you think that's, okay, it's going to fall apart. It's going to collapse. And you sell right there. You sell right there. You exit the whole trade, even though you have to understand that it could pull back all the way down to that previous resistance as new support before bouncing again. You have to be aware of that fact and accept that fact. And so many traders, they are just too afraid of giving back their profits, and they end up selling too soon. Here, I want you to do me a favor. Look at all your past, 50, 60 trades, and look at all the ones that you sold for a profit, and actually go back, go through your trades and look at how many of them you sold too soon. How many actually went further after you're sold? I can probably guarantee that for the most of traders, for their winning trades, they sell too soon. So if you're always selling too soon, you can just do nothing most of the time and actually be able to hold for a longer profit, right? You want to be able to cut your losses quickly, hold your winners longer. But so many people flip that upside down. They will cut their winners quickly and hold their losses for longer, and they just get it backwards. So just a simple tip I recommend all traders do. Just really get a sense of how they are trading within the stock. The longer you can hold your winners, the better you will do of course, the long run. So even though it dropped down below VWAP here, I didn't care because I knew as long as it held $5, it was still bullish. And then we saw this very nice afternoon squeeze up to 750s. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't sell any profits there because I had no reason to. My next target was up at 812. And then after this big breakout, next thing I said, okay, well, as long as it can hold 620s, it still is bullish. And right now it is still holding those 620s. So it is still as bullish to me, and we'll see if it can see that continuation. It's a very similar setup to what I've been holding over the past 2 days on TNON. Very similar setup. You can see here, TNON had a first green day back on the 15th, set its pre-market high at about 170s area, sold off through the day, and then in the afternoon, it had this big breakout, and it halted upwards, trapped all the shorts. But I didn't buy the breakout. Instead, I knew that I would love to buy the dip, so I just sent a limit buy order at 176. Doesn't matter when it gets filled. Whenever it does get filled, I get my price. Now, of course, there's no real guarantee of these working out, right? With all these trades, I plan my risk in accordance to my rules that I teach in the Trade Buddy program. So I calculate my size beforehand and manage my risk that way, because there is no guarantee of these working out. But it's all about just taking the risk into the support, because if it does hold, you get the best entry possible. And that's what I have found the best way of trading to be, right? No guesswork. You just plan your trade out. There's no prediction. And you just see what happens. Whatever happens, it's okay. And as you can see, TNON held that support perfectly, and next few days has been trending up very nicely. And now we're up. There's no volume nowadays, right? The volume has died off, but it is up about $1 per share, and I'm just holding it because it's doing its thing. So in markets like this, I don't really want to be a day trader. I just want to find good trends and swing them. And that's what works better for me. Some people like buying breakouts. I don't. That's what works for me. And that's what we have been focusing on in the Trade Buddy room. So if you want to join us in Trade Buddy, we have a 14-day free trial down below. I do pre-market webinars every single day where I talk about all the stocks I'm watching. I have a full watch list breakdown posted. And I also do trade recap webinars every single day. No other mentor in the space does this many webinars. Trust me, I've checked. And we have a whole community of traders who trade every single day, plus a course, plus so many other tools that will help you succeed as a trader. You can access it right now. Click the first link down below. 14 days, completely free, no strings attached.